I'm in a game. I'm in a game. Hello, I'm in the video with my daddy.
What's going on, everybody? So, new year, new episodes. Today we've got Jan on, and I probably should have asked him how to say his last name, but I think it's Haayer. I will get him to say it though. And he's been back on YouTube recently, so I thought I would try to get him on here, see what he's been up to. And here's Jan. What's going on, man?
Hey guys, what's going on?
So what the heck have you been up to, man? Just getting back into the YouTube thing and
Yeah. Well, like we chatted earlier, I kind of went Dave Chappelle. I had quite a, but being cocky, I kind of thought I had a good YouTube channel going and lots of people tuning in, and just something snapped inside, and I decided I was going to head off and shut everything down for a while. So took a 2-year hiatus, and just something clicked inside a couple weeks ago and was kind of like, you know what, I feel good. I'm in a good headspace now. I'm in good spots. Things calm down in life. Figured, you know what, it's time to jump back on the bandwagon and build a couple models and start to put some glue to plastic, and the old friend YouTube kind of came knocking again, and kind of that itch kind of came to like, maybe we should make some videos and check out who's out there again, right? And kind of re-immerse back in the hobby and put ourselves back out on the market. So here we are trying to rebuild and start again.
I will say this: it's really good to see you back on YouTube because
awesome. Thank you very much.
You have a big presence because of all and we'll go back a little bit. Sunday Night Gossip is where I found you.
Nice.
Now, how long ago was that?
So I've been gone I think I took like a 2-year hiatus, and I think it was about a year or 6 months before that we took Sunday Night Gossip for a car drive and took it to the train station. If anybody up there watches Yellowstone, and we hucked it into the ravine and never wanted to see it again. So it's been a while, but yeah, Sunday Night Gossip put us really on the map. Really, it kind of got us out there, and for me, it was great. It was fun at first, and everything was going great until I stepped back and looked at what kind of time that really took it out of life, right? And at the time, Andrew, my oldest, he would have been turning 10 or 11, and my daughter would have been 9 or so, and our youngest would have been 4. And it was right at that time where really, had to be helping out and had to be there a lot for them. And when you're trolling Facebook and YouTube and all those places for model stuff, from the time you get off work until it's time to go to bed, kind of thing, right? I was becoming very detached. And then when came Sunday rolled around, it was time to spend all day Sunday from the time I got up until sometimes be 1-2 o'clock in the Monday morning getting Sunday Night Gossip up and running, right? And it just became a little too overwhelming, and kind of started backing off. And then I noticed the quality was starting to go down the toilet as well. So I was like, well, what do we do? So it started as maybe just a break. And then the break turned into an extended vacation. And then it was just like, let's just let it roll down and kind of go for, let's see where it would go. So, I thought if I would bring it back, it would probably do really well. But at this time, I'm probably going to step back and just focus more on the building content. That was the other problem. I stopped building models. It was just kind of reviewing Facebook stuff or reviewing Facebook, YouTube, model related content, but not making any content except for Sunday Night Gossip, right? So that was fun. And then the other little kicker to me was somebody, and I can't remember who did it now, but maybe it was James Darby, I think. He had said in one of his videos, he described Sunday Night Gossip as Jan's watching YouTube, so I don't have to. And it kind of like, oh, I don't really like that, right? He made a great comment, right? I really didn't like the idea of people tuning in to me to find out what everybody else was doing, right? So, I was more like, watch these guys' videos, right? Don't just kind of tune in for me for a synopsis. Go out and watch the content and give those guys some love, show them some videos, right? modernization on your videos is a big thing. And, you know, I mean, I know like Dr. Cranky one time said after, you know, every month Google sent you enough money to buy some deodorant, but, you know, that little bit adds up and helps. But if I'm taking those views away from you, oh, it didn't make me feel very good at all. So we kind of just sent her on her way, and it was a good thing. And we'll try to come up with something new and even more exciting.
Yeah, it's I totally understand everything you just said, because this has a life of its own.
Yeah.
I totally get that.
Yeah.
I mean, luckily I've got it pretty well figured out, so it doesn't take like all week.
Yeah.
You know,
that'd be
but
hard. It drains on you fast.
I totally understand that. Now, do you see the question on the screen?
Yeah, was it Frizzo's Models Cars? You want to tune into the Northview Model Shop. Just throw that into a search engine or throw that into YouTube, and you should see the Northview Model Shop. It's a picture of kind of me with a face mask on, and just tune into that. And we're going to start dropping videos here. I, you know, you and I chatted kind of behind the scenes that I was really excited. I was going to start dropping videos, and then you invited me as a guest. So I said, you know what? Let's make this the coming out party, the revealing that the Northview Model Shop is back. We're going to start posting videos. So as soon as we're done here, I'm going to snap from private to public on a new video. And we're going to start building, and get this, guys, we're going to start building some Warhammer gear and see what we can do with that. See if we can tap into that aspect of model building and painting and have some fun, see what happens.
So what got you into Warhammer?
Honestly, way back when we have the biggest model show in Atlantic Canada, would be CAMS, the Capital Area Model Society. They're 30 some years now. I wish I knew it, because things kind of got screwy with the virus going around, because they postponed like everybody else. I think they're in 33 or 34 years now of doing the show. We've been going for the last 7 or 8. Anyway, long story short, they have a beautiful prize table. We happened to win just a Warhammer Tau fighter or something. I put it together. It was really cool. I liked it, right? But I didn't quite understand the gluing and all that stuff. So we'll get into that in our channel, obviously. But it fell apart a few times. My painting skills weren't there, and I was kind of bummed, but it was really cool stuff. And then I just seen a buddy come up here, my man there, Gilbert Mondragon, Red Dragon Model Works. He started painting Knights Titans, and my mind just went boom. Because I was a kid, we used to watch a show on YTV. It was called Mech Warrior, which I think is also called Gumden Tech, I believe, but I'm not 100% sure. Those Mech Warriors, I love Mech Warriors. The Power Loader from Aliens, the APUs from Matrix movies. The list goes on and on and on. And these things reminded me so much of them. And I thought they were cool, but well, camera view, ching, 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 ching. They were expensive as anything. So always dreamed about building one, watching Gil build 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 of them. And they all just look beautiful, beautiful models. So I kind of just like always eyed it. Anyway, this Christmas rolls around, and lucky for us, right? Financially, we were a little more stable than usual. And the wife's like, yeah, seen this shop here, is Gamestronics is what it's called. And this guy here does all the fantasy stuff. And he has quite a collection of Warhammer gear. And she was, well, if you want something, go pick something up. So I'm like, ah, cool. So found the Knights Titan, picked it up, didn't even pay attention to the price tag, just about croaked at the cash, but well, it's here now, can't take it back. And started fiddling with it and realized it's not just about building models. There's you can build these armies. There's all kinds of lore and technical stuff, and the whole world is huge. It's a whole nother universe, and it allows you to build and tell a story in your brain and have fun with it. And then, you know, when you're all done, it's just, they're not shelf queens. You could actually go with buddies, with friends, with family, and play the Warhammer game, and the sky's the limit, which really just kind of blew my mind, right? And anyone who's watched the Northview Model Shop for a long time knows we're not really committed to cars, planes, tanks, figures, any of that stuff. We'll try anything once. So started building this Knights Titan, started doing some videos and stuff for that, and then went for a car drive, and then, hey, Mutt War, I think I know that guy. He also turned me on to him. He when the Atomic Dog 32 was heavy into her, into the YouTube presence, he was building orcs like crazy. So with that in mind, I went out and bought the orc command set along with the Space Wolves one. So we're going to paint these, follow it through on YouTube. And then we're going to build some terrain, and me and my boy are going to set them up and try to play Warhammer and see what happens. We'll either end in a fist fight or have a great time. So we're. And the other thing too is, and I just can't stop talking. Jeez. I'm on vacation until Monday, so I've been off for work for almost 2 weeks now, and just fiddling around the other day, building some orcs and watching some YouTube again, right? Which I hadn't done in ever. I never, when I came to watching YouTube, it was just you scrolled and watched whatever popped up, you watched, right? Sat and actually watched model building videos while building these orcs, and then stepped back for a minute, and an hour had passed, and I had built like 6 of these orcs. It was like, wow. Most times, one thing that struggles with a lot of us is a model. You start building it, and it could take 6-8 months, and it gets shelved, and you kind of forget about it, and blah blah blah. Right? Well, here these things could be painted this afternoon if I want it. Right? So it gives you a little more freedom that way, especially say like myself trying to get back into or get into a flow. You're not being bogged down by a huge project that's just over daunting, and then you step back and say, "Man, this is too much," and you walk away. You could paint one of these little figures in an afternoon, or you could spend 40 hours painting it. Right, the sky's the limit as well. And what was also cool, I kind of got watching these videos and watching these other guys play Warhammer and stuff. Was as you're getting your models done, you're playing with it, and then you could say, okay, well, I've battled with this one 10 times, so then you come back and you can add some more damage to it, and weather attack your army, or touch them up, or add rankings to them. Like, it's crazy, it's insane. There's so much to it. I'm excited. You
see, and the cool thing I will say for me to you is I'm curious to see what you do with the Night Titan.
Nice.
Just being an armor guy and a car guy.
Yes.
I'm kind of curious to see where you go with that.
Yes. Where you just give me a second. Oh. So this is just the upper portion of that Knight's Titan. So it's a decent size. But what's even cooler, see if I can get this. This is all of the except for that little gun, but this is all armored stuff. Yeah. And I actually had ideas of using automotive paint to get a very bright, deep. Remember we did the model car world Willys. We used that Merker blue. It's like the Subaru blue. I thought about dropping that in here. Step back a little bit, and I'm like, you know what? That's a bit of a difficult product to work with to start getting back into things. So I think I'll just use like just a really bright, shiny blue acrylic and work with it from there. But yeah, man, you are so right. That could be done right to the max. Do it all in blue and then gold flake it or something on the accent points. Geez, it would just be insanely cool, right? And you're right. And we were talking earlier about 3D printing. I haven't even explored what you guys are doing with 3D printed additions to this stuff, which could just be, your mind could just go crazy trying to see what else is out there. But just overexcited.
It's pretty crazy at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And what I will say, since you're just now getting into the Warhammer stuff, you get the big box sets.
Yeah.
That's the way to buy Warhammer stuff.
Are you nailed it right there, 100%. I was sitting there and my mind, right there, man. That is what you want to buy. I'm sitting there just scratching my brain like, how do you pick an army? What pieces do you need? I don't understand. This is confusing. And then I'm farting around on the internet, and you could get a command control, or there was the getting started packs, and it gives you I don't even know what the point count would be, but it gives you a little bit of everything to get started, so you could do a small little battle for not a horrible price. I guess it's Games Workshop fixed the price, so we can say it's around Canadians around about $200 to buy that set. But if you break it down on their website, you're getting more parts for your money than what you would have buying them individually. So for someone brand new like myself who doesn't understand what the Orc Boys noob is, or the noob is, I would never figure that out. But it's in the box, so you can play with it and you get to start and you figure yourself out. It gives you a great cross section. And away you go. Then you can build your army from that, which was a godsend for me, because I would have had no clue. Would have spent $1,000 on models and still had an incomplete army, right? So great. They've got it made up perfectly.
That box cost me like $160 here.
Yep.
Well, just 2 of the tanks is that price. And then everything else free.
It's a
And then
win,
you get,
right?
it's just crazy.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, it's fun. I would suggest anybody out there that's kind of they're looking for something a little bit different. And, have you dabbled in figure painting? Figure painting, and some of my paints do look like they've been finger painted. But anyway, if it's worth a shot to grab something. Just a small pack, paint up a couple of them. If it's not your thing, well, you've got a couple models for your shelf. And if you're really into it, you could build an army out of it and have fun. The sky's the limit, right? It's definitely pricey, but they build beautiful. They just build up so nice. Very little flashing. You're really, I want to say you get what you're getting, what you're paid for there. Like when you do spend that kind of money and you pull that model out when you're done, you're like, man, that was worth the money, right? But
are you gonna jump down the paint rabbit hole that they have for that?
I am not sure. I'm a hardcore supporter. My guy Scott Mulligan at ElmCityHobbies.com turned me on to Viejo, and I've been using it religiously now for.
Okay.
Before I took my break, I used it quite a bit, and now this time around, I've kind of committed myself to stay true to it, and I think I'm going to. And the more I popped around the videos online, you see a lot of guys still using that stuff, right? So it's
it's good paint. I was just curious because now you can get the starter box sets for way cheaper.
Yeah, too. For sure. I'm trying to think. I'm not sure if my guy, our local Gamestronic, if he's stocking the paint or not. I'm not 100% sure. It's kind of like a drug den. I try not to go in there because when I come out, I have money left. I avoid the place like the plague, right? It's like the motorcycle shop down the road. I swore I'd never, ever, ever go in there. I went in there twice, and now I bought a motorcycle, and now I've spent so much money there this summer.
What'd you get?
I got an 1125R Buell. So it's like a death. It's a suicide machine. It wants to kill you every time you try to hit the throttle. It's essentially Buell was building their sport bikes. They were owned by Harley Davidson at the time. So really it's a sport bike Harley. It's had the what do you call it? It's the modification is called a denoid. So the EPA said that motorcycle was too noisy in third gear under a full load. So when you pulled out to pass a transport truck on the highway, it made too much noise. So there was a little kit you could buy that put a little resistor in line. And you took that piece out. So when you cracked the throttle in third gear and just held it, the valve didn't shut the throttle bodies partially to keep the noise down. So I'm putting 100 decibels out the back pipe. It's crazy. I cracked the throttle. My wife and I were headed out somewhere, and she was driving the car and I was on the bike, and I passed her. And when I looked down, I was doing about 140 miles an hour when I went around her. I was like, yeah. So when I let off, I had to stop, wait for like 2 minutes for her to catch back up, right? Like it's just suicide. It's crazy. It's a water.
No, I love motorcycles too. That's why I asked.
I grew up on them, and then I really was kind of looking for a cruiser because this up here don't work. When I put a helmet on, it just game's over. I don't understand that you can't just do that all the time. So I got to stay away from crotch rocket. And I was just fiddling the internet one day, and locally, Buddy had a bike that if I was to pick a Buell and pick a crotch rocket, this was the bike I wanted. It had the aftermarket pipes. It had all the modifications done. Immaculate shape. It was for the price I was looking for, right? So I was like, I got to pick up. Somebody said there's no such thing as a too loud Harley. You're right, bud. Mopar, not 62. You are right. Loud pipes save lives.
So you've done a bunch of cars. When is going to be the first tutorial video? Because you like doing those. You can tell you like doing those.
Yeah, I do like building cars, and that's the weird part. And people, I've heard that before. You're really good at cars, really good at cars. And when I first started doing models and stuff, I said to the wife, I'm going to stay away from cars. She said, why? I said, well, everybody on YouTube is building cars. I want to do something different. And then I'm an automotive mechanic by trade, transitioned over to heavy equipment and now do forklift. So when I build a car, the problem with doing the car thing is when I look at it, I'm like, ooh, that's not right. That actually should do this and go over here. And you get a little too, and then you just the rabbit hole. And then you try building a 1/25th scale working vehicle, right? So I try to shut that off. And you're right. As things are rolling through here, we'll get through some of the Warhammer videos, and then maybe pick up one of the old build cars we have sitting out in in the boxes here, or just grab a new one and just go at it and just do a box stock build and do some tutorial stuff and some YouTube stuff on that as well. And just kind of be able to shut that, pick the point, shut it down there and just build to that. Right. I kind of got that. That was a bad habit I developed following Hunter Selby at Showtime Studios. That guy can build a model right down to the very fine details of everything, right? And you want to try to man, that guy showed me a whole new world. You want to try to build to a standard like that to compete at model shows. Well, right now we're kind of shut down. There's no model shows in sight at this moment. So really, I could just say I'm going to build for the fun of building again, right? And whatever comes to the tables when the model shows fire back up comes to the table, right? But it's all mindset. I guess that's the big thing, is got to kind of pick a point and build to that point and be happy when you're done and build another one, try it again.
So let's talk about the area you live in, because you're big presence there for the shows and stuff, right? Is that how I understand it?
Well, that's what I've kind of trying to get a feel around about model shows and stuff around the areas, right? And other people's locations. So we've got, I'm trying to think of where. So we have a show, the first show of the year in the non-pandemic era. The first show of the year was at Shearwater in Halifax, and it was part of a hobby show. Then we went to the Moncton National. So the Moncton Car Club has what they call the Nationals. It's the biggest car show in Atlantic Canada. The Moncton group, Mazda, they put together a model show at the same time, and it's a heavy car show. They've transitioned to kind of cover everything, but at heart, they're a model car club and show. So they do that one, and then I think we follow suit after that with the Berwick Galladay Scale Model Show. It's part of our town fair. I sat on that as co-president and put a model show together, and we've done really well with that. Followed by Bible Hill, which is in Truro, and that usually ended the last one of the year. And I hope I didn't forget anybody, but that's all within Fredericton's the farthest one away, and they're about 400 kilometers from us. And if you know the geography, we're in Nova Scotia, so wherever we need to go the wrong way first to loop around to come back across the country, right? So it's a bit of a crapshoot. From where I am to Fredericton, as straight as the crow flies, is probably 200 clicks. But I got to go around the peninsula and through all of New Brunswick to get to Fredericton. So, but all the shows in Halifax are right close. Truro's close as well. So, yeah, I think we're kind of spoiled. We've got 4 or 5 shows within 4 hours, 5 hours of driving. So it's not horrible at all. So pretty spoiled that way.
It seems like from videos I've seen of yours that there's a big modeling community up there. Is that because of the weather, or you think, or?
Not sure. That is really good, because really when I started, I'm like, wow, nobody builds models. And then word got around where I work. It's a large factory. And all of a sudden, one of my great buddies now, Mike Burbage, he comes down. I've been building model cars for years. Another buddy comes down, Michael Stewart. He comes down, and he got me into a lot of this fantasy stuff because he buys kits just to kit bash them into crazy spaceships, guns. He's an insane model builder. He was driving forklift. I didn't even know that. I'm working on his forklift every day. I didn't know that he was a model builder, right? And then one after another. Oh, people come down and the whatnot. And then you reach out to. I went to we went to the CAMS model show one year, and there was a half dozen people that lived within 25 minutes of me that were there, right? And when you started checking back, there was more and more people building, and it was of all ages. That was what really struck me as weird. I thought I was the youngest guy there. I was like 27 or 28 at these model shows, right? And I'm like, man, I'm the youngster here. And I figured it would be all these old farts. No way, man. There was guys younger than me. There was guys from the early 20s right up to their 70s that were building models in the hobby, returning to the hobby, been in the hobby, never left the hobby, and kind of going there. A bunch of guys. Military might be one of the big things. We've got a lot of military presence here. Just down the road, we have a Canadian Air Base, Shearwater. It's an air base. Getting into New Brunswick, there's some Army bases and stuff there. So a lot of guys that are around, they're ex-military, and they've just picked up right from their careers and started building models for what they loved. And they've been around the world, seeing everything, right? So they're building some really top class stuff, and A lot of volunteering. A lot of guys will volunteer. They'll go to local churches, youth groups, stuff like that, and bring models to the schools and just show stuff during, hobby days and stuff like that. And people bid onto it and just gone with it, and really, really sunk their teeth in, and really it's cemented the hobby as being pretty strong in the area.
No, I mean it's really unique. It's that's why I asked that. I was like, it's just. And I think there's someone else that's on YouTube out of your area too that goes to most of the shows, and he shows, and it's like the tables are full.
It is. It is wild, right? It is full. I was blown away. Like Cams, when I went to Cams, I was like, okay, the guy they have marketed as the largest model show in Atlantic, Canada, and by far it is, right? And you got there, and like, wow, man, good thing we got here early, because by the time registration closed, there wasn't room to put any more models down. And then one example is Kenny Gogan. He builds an insane amount of studio film models. And they're big, they're huge models, but they're like direct replicas of the film models. He did a Pegasus, and it sits on a 4x8 table, and it's bolted to the table, and he's got to bring the table to the model shows to display his model. And it's just absolutely insane. He lives 24 minutes down the road from me, right? But anyway, back to the story. So yeah, it just was, I thought Cams was like backed full. Like, this is just, how to put it, I thought it was cool, but I figured, okay, this is the biggest show in Atlantic. People have come from all over. Well, this is true, but these people go to every show all over, right? So, I mean, it wasn't just because Fredericton area, that circle, drew from Quebec and drew from the stateside, because they're really close to the border. Everybody around there that went to that show, they packed up and they went to the next show, and to the next show, and to the next show. It was just a dedication, man. We see a lot of people out of the city. Halifax has a lot of people down there that are hardcore into building models, and they're bringing their friends up. And the more and more the hobby continued when I got into it, and YouTube started to get a little bit more and started exploding, our local reporters, newspaper, Ian Swinimer Reports, who lives the next road over from me, who had a huge media presence, he came over and did an article on us and put it on his channel. The video got like 25 or 30,000 views from local people. And then all, those model builders that would watch his stuff, they came out of the closet and they started building models openly and started attending the shows as well. And it kept growing and growing and growing. So post-pandemic will be very interesting to see if those people kept building, and we're going to have an explosion of people or models at model shows, or did people kind of drift and find other things to do? It's going to be very interesting on the other side.
Well, I don't know about where you're at, but down here in the States, it seems like it's getting more, like the hobby kind of grew a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you're seeing a lot more YouTube channels and people just starting out too. It's kind of crazy how COVID kind of brought our hobby back to where it should be, I think. But
yeah, you're right. Was in just chatting with the guy there from Gamestronics, just buying up those 2 kits in the Codex books. There was $500. I'll never get back. But anyway, that's not important. It was funny. He goes, man, it just, as soon as the pandemic kind of crashed or hit in and everybody got shut out, and as soon as we were able to open up a little bit more, and the vendors, store owners, proprietors were allowed to open up with conditions and stuff, he said he had people beating on his door. Like, you'd only allowed to let in 3 people at a time. And there would be a lineup for people to get in to buy some fantasy model gears and stuff like that from them, so they could continue to build at home, right? He said it was crazy. Yeah. His sales just skyrocketed when the pandemic hit. Scott Mulligan, my guy, who I buy all my model supplies for. The only reason why I don't buy my Games Workshop stuff from him is he's not a vendor, and he said that was cool, right? I like to treat my guys good, but anyway, he said same thing. His online store orders have just skyrocketed, which is great for him, man. It's great. I love to see. If it isn't for these guys, and we're not supporting them, the hobby will eventually kind of fart out, right? What's people say, why don't you just get it from Amazon? I said, well, that's easy. Amazon don't sponsor your kid's ball team, right? These model stores, these guys are going to throw a donation at you somewheres and help you on a raffle or anything. So that's my one thing to everybody in the comment section: support your local guys if you can, right? Find out your local model supply store and buy from him, because if he has to close his doors up, that gives us one less place to buy our stuff from.
Yeah, that's a true comment. That's very, very true. Very, very true. So what's some of your favorite tools that you like to use?
Oh, that's a great question. I have really got a big old ding 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 for the hobby saw. So not so much the bigger version, but the little blade that you can put into your hobby knife. I have really taken a liking to that in the last little while when I've been building. I've gone through so many sprue cutters, and this is kind of an interesting transition. When I got into it and bought the nice the sprue cutter, my kids were young and they would grab it and they'd use it to cut wood or cut metal, and then you'd go to use to cut plastic again, and there'd be big chunks and dings out of it. They were expensive-ish, and I was like, oh, this is frustrating. And then I kind of got an X-Acto blade multi-set, and it had the little razor saw in it, I guess you'd call it. So I started working with that, and I found that it gave me a little better control and a little better when I was cutting with the sprue cutter, I would cut it and it would, I guess, distort. I'm trying to think. In Mini Art maybe was the kit I first, the little bulldozer, the D7 bulldozer. Sprue cutter, as soon as you would cut it, your part would break into 3 pieces and explode, and you'd have to go find all of it, glue it all back together, and then try to cut it. And that's when I started using the razor saw on that, because you could cut the sprues and relieve the tension, and then cut your part out, and then go back with a really nice number 11 and start trimming and cleaning. And then I just started working with that a little more, got a lot more control. And after that, I really don't even reach for sprue cutters anymore. It's just I grab that hobby, that micro saw or microblade number 11, and I'm not even sure what this one is called. The squared off one that you can use to kind of dip down and I guess it's not a spade, but oh Jesus, I can't remember. I'll figure it out and I'll post it. But it's a square, sharp blade that you can go in just dead straight square and cut something off. I've been really grooving that as well. It's almost like a chisel blade, and you can use that to kind of chisel a little bit of some plastic and clean some edges. But it's those little fine precision tools that really get me going. And then obviously the pin vise for your little drill bits, that was a game changer. I used to always hold them with my fingers, go like this. Then I got a pin vise, and that was a whole new avenue of detailing that you can do. So.
Yeah, that's cool. I also want you to talk about your airbrush station or air booth.
So that's what I'm actually sitting in right now, and I never did do a great video on that, and I really want to get into it. So my airbrush booth, and guys, if you've watched any of the videos, and I think all of us who are in the hobby building, you can go out and buy a spray booth if you got the money, and it's a great booth, high super quality. But on the other side, there's a lot of us that sit there going, I've got a bunch of junk laying around. I bet you could build something. So we had a stackable Maytag washer and dryer. And for whatever reason, I have this uncanny ability to fix washers and dryers. They break, and I'm like, oh, that's right there. And you fix it. And somehow I managed to collect 3 of these friggin' things. And I'm telling you, I paid nothing for any of them. People say, oh, you got one of those? I got one of those in the lease. You can have it. Okay. We had this stackable washer and dryer, and I had 3 of them for parts. Well, eventually they all got gutted out, and I'm like, and you know what? That dryer top looks like a really great spray booth. So I took the motor, I relocated to the top, and it's just a big squirrel fan, so it doesn't suck super. Well, it sucks, but it doesn't like pull the air. Like I was really scared that I'd be spraying and your paint would just go whoop. Get back camera, go whoop, go straight up when it hit the model, but it's not sucking so hard that it does that. It gives you it's a huge amount of room. So what I really did with it was just mount it to my wall, lined it, put a shelf in it, and kind of went from there. And what happened was the opening was huge. It's probably 24 by 24, 24 by 36. It's huge. And it wasn't working that great. And my good friend Robert Lapine was over. He said, you know what you need to do? You need to take half of that and put just clear plastic onto it, and then go up with it. It'll allow a bit more of a draft to it. I'm like, interesting. So we tried it, and sure enough, just with some spray paint that you'd spray, and the paint would go up and just kind of linger up here out of harm's way, and then that would eventually suck it out. And after that, it was just beautiful, perfect. It's out of the way. It's mounted to the wall. Then I went full on. It's plumb for my air compressor. So I've got multiple air chucks on that. So I've got a little wand in here that sprays air at regulated pressure, so you can blow parts off. I've got power supply hooked up here, so I can run heat guns, stuff like that. And I even went as far, I noticed I was working on it one night with the music playing, and I couldn't hear the music because of the fans. So I've got 2 small be mounted inside the air boost and everything to listen to music while I'm working. But yeah, it was a really fun project, and I'm not even making this up. I followed a fella on YouTube. It's Rice Farming TV's Matt Sliger, and he just commented on one of my videos, one of his videos, saying that, you know, Jan just started following me, and I really like how he was inventive and built his own spray booth. And I'm like, wow, somebody noticed. So I thought it was kind of cool. But it was, like I said, you can buy one from the store and they work great and there's nothing wrong with them, but it's just something about building your own and having it work great out of just junk you had laying around. We kind of give you a little more pride in what you had, right? So fun times.
Well, and then just because of the size of that, you can do more than just a car, right?
Yes. Big time. I'm just trying to think of where I see it. So the inspiration for building my own came from Dave Parker, because he did a video where he just bought a tote and a fart fan for the bathroom, and he just made an airbrush booth out of it. That's really cool. And then a little more, so I kind of like, I want to build my own. And then watching Dr. Cranky videos, and I still got my Dr. Cranky gear on. Good, he made a video.
Someone was saying he posted a video today.
Did, and I'm blowing my mind, because Dr. Cranky's my hero, man. I love that guy to death, and it always seemed like I'm sitting there, I'm thinking to myself, you know what, I'm gonna get back into YouTube, and then Dr. Cranky would post a video, I'm back, right? Like, oh man, I feel like I'm posing, right? So like I've been thinking now for the last couple of weeks, I need to get back, and then Dr. Cranky fires a video this morning that you know, it looks like his grandchild has been born, so that's super great. Congratulations, Doc. And it looks like he's going to get back into doing some model videos, I hope. So that's exciting. But back to the story, I remember watching his videos in his spray booth, and he was set up. Everything was right on hands reach, boom, 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 right? So to be able to build this larger booth, like I was painting, priming all that Knights Titan stuff. I had the block to hold all the parts, and it wasn't like you had to go like outside the booth. You could have the block sitting in there, and you were spray painting. The paint was up and out of the way, and your parts and everything was just right there, right? So that's the other thing with that extra room and everything. You can really you can really spread yourself out and have everything right at arm's reach and build and go, right? And you're not being frustrated by trying to find stuff or reaching and tripping over things. And it's feng shui. It's got great feng shui.
And something that you don't have to set up to takes 30 minutes to set up just to do 2 minutes of paint. That is the most aggravating thing in the world to me.
Yeah, that is awful. Like right now I'm set up on the kitchen table, right? I guess we haven't got to that, but yeah. Anyway, we'll get to that later. I'm on the kitchen table right now, and like normal people, we eat supper on the couch, so it's not like a big deal, right? And the holidays are all over, so I don't mean I got to tear it down. And the really great thing, this is a big game changer. My kids are old enough now, and they've been around the hobby enough to know, like, well, you can't touch that or play with that stuff. So I can leave things out and not feel like someone's going to drink a bottle of glue or knock things over, knock a paint, right? So, I mean, parts could be fixed and things replaced, but, for the kids hurting themselves, they understand hobby knives. They've built models and played with them and stuff. So they understand also. It's not a big deal to have to clean up, but the wife, I don't think, appreciates having all this crap on her table all the time, but it's kind of like the family fun station. We're all there. I'm building models. The daughter's doing art stuff and Play-Doh. The young feller's gaming. It's kind of a good hangout spot. But you're right, man. There's nothing worse than setting up and tearing everything down. I was going to build a hot rod truck one time at our old place. It didn't have a garage, so everything was done outdoors. So by the time you set everything up, and then it would rain. Then you had to take it all back down and run over town, taking stuff and tools back to wherever you borrowed them from. So you got to play with your project for 3 minutes, and then there's another 6 months for you can touch it again. So, yeah, dedicated workstations is where it's at.
Yeah, for sure. I want to bring it back to YouTube for a second.
Yes, sir.
How long have you actually been on YouTube? You've been on YouTube for like 6 years, right? 7 years?
Yeah, to put it in perspective, not perspective, I don't know if it's the right term or not. So when I jumped in, the first video I ever watched was Don Yost, and it was really just a kind of what do you want to call it? Not a trailer, but a sales pitch for his DVDs, which are great. I got both and watched them. They're awesome DVDs. And then I kind of continued the search and ran into this guy named Fast Jimmy 72, I believe it was, the Chicken Goose Garage, and I just loved his building stuff. And he mentioned about this guy named Dr. Cranky. Popped Dr. Cranky, and then boom, I just watched like all of his videos. At that time, he had like 1,100 videos or something. So I watched every one I could and stayed true to it. Ran into like the Atomic Dog, Who else was there? Jonathan Milbury. He was JTech 23. He just lives in Digby, so he's about an hour away from me. Bad Bowtie Bad Boy 32. He actually worked at the model store that I was buying stuff from. I didn't even know it. And those were like from what I understand, they were like the first round of YouTube modelers. There was a bunch of them that kind of all jumped in about the same time, a few years before I did. And then there was like what I called us our second generation guys, right? That kind of filled the void. And then then it just kind of snowballed from there, and more people come. But yeah, I think you're right. It's been 7 or 8 years that I've been YouTubing around.
So how do you like the change that our community has had? Because it's changed from because I've been on for like 6-7 years too.
Yeah.
And it's a big difference from when I started to right now.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
The biggest thing for me was overwhelming, or was the overwhelming of it. It used to be, and it could just be because of the old YouTube format. You used to be able to get in your subscription, and it was blocked, and it was chronological order. And as you watched them, they disappeared out of your subscription line, right? It was really like a queue. And so you subscribe to your YouTube buddies, the guys you followed, and then it's a big thing, right, man? Everybody that popped up, you hit subscribe because you're going to show some love. They're loving you. You love them. And next thing you know, man, you'd pop on there and it just seemed like there was 40 hours of YouTube to watch, right? And you would it got overwhelming. And then you kind of had to pick and choose who you wanted to watch. And that made me feel bad because, I mean, these guys are all watching and giving you a thumbs up and loving you, right? And then all of a sudden you feel like you're kind of betraying them, and not by watching their video. So it took a lot to try to find which one you wanted to watch. But it's been great because from whatever you like, there's going to be somebody out there building something that you like. If you're a car guy, there's lots of car guys. There's tank guys, there's lots of tank guys. If you want to see somebody build a 42 Mercury or a 49 Merc, you can just search it and there's going to be 3 or 4 guys building one. If you want to see someone build a Panzer tank with some variant, you search it, boom, there they are, right? And you can watch them. And so that's the nice thing. Before you kind of had to hope someone would build what you wanted to see. Now you're pretty sure, I bet you could search somebody's already built one or is currently building one, and you can play along at home or you can follow and enjoy. So that's the great part. Everything's available now to watch. So that's one of the good things.
And I like how we all kind of really get along for the most part.
For sure.
That's the part that I've really, really been enjoying lately.
Yeah. When I kind of took a little bit of a hiatus, there was a little bit of some bad blood rolling around. And it was, I think it wasn't model related. It was personal problems that some of the guys were having. But even those guys stepped up and said, listen, we're at odds with each other. We're just going to take 10 feet apart and stay apart. And from what I could tell, they always did. Everybody moved on. Believe it or not, I've dealt with a few trolls, and I've heard some other people saying, man, we all deal with that stuff. And I've kind of taken the new mentality now. My wife she kind of acted as my human resource manager. If I said something or did something, she would say, no, you can't do that. And it was always like, you need to be proper and polite and tell somebody, be nice to them. And I said, you know what, from this time forward, trolls are just going to get trolled as well, right? You're just going to listen, bud. I ain't got time for your crap. Bugger off, right? Or just simple, man, hit mute or block them. You don't want that crap running around anyway. It's supposed to be a hobby. It's supposed to be fun. And guys shouldn't be getting stressed out about, somebody posting a video or the one thing I can never get with YouTube, guys don't like your stuff, but yet they'll take the time to write a 10-minute comment to you. It's like, don't waste your time, man. Don't waste your time.
If I was going to remove one thing from YouTube, it's the dislike button.
Yeah, and I happen to know now you can turn off the count for it or something like that, so people don't see the dislike button, right? And that always boggled my mind. Why the hell would you watch a video and then put the thumbs down? Like, I mean, I could say, okay, I want to watch your video on how to print. You're going to print an accessory for the Knights Titan, and I watch it, and it's you hawking Ray-Ban sunglasses. Okay, well that's a dislike because it doesn't make any sense, right? But it's your video was spot on. It did exactly what you said he was going to do. And I watched it and I didn't like it. Well, why would I hit the dislike? It doesn't make any sense. And then I guess in the analytics of YouTube, dislike is the same as a like. It's interaction. So the more interactions you get, the better. So I don't know, man. Yeah, you're right though. They gave you the option. I think you can turn off the dislike count which was is something I'll probably look into because, you know, dislikes didn't mean nothing to me. The more likes I got, it means people enjoyed it. But at the end of the day, it's the comments that really made the difference, right? Because that's where the real truth is, right? A like is great, but comments even better. So I guess what they say, likes, like, comment, and subscribe.
For sure. So since Dr. Cranky's taken a hiatus, right? Who have you been watching mostly since you're not really watching him a whole lot?
So I'm trying to think of where I was rolling there. So with DC, I was always checking out his stuff. Dave Parker was always one of my big ones. I always loved watching. So he was just fun, energetic. His videos weren't super long. Oh, geez, I'm trying to think of who are the other ones. Gilbert, obviously, Red Dragon Model Works, Styrene Syndicate. When he would post, he changed his format up. Well, I guess he was always kind of the same kind of thing. He didn't really do videos where it was like, this is how you do that. He got into streaming early. And that was great to watch. He would stream, he would hang out. When he did do a tutorial, it was really more of a stream of him working than more of just a straight down tutorial. I think his early videos it looked like might have from his kitchen or from his living room. Those were a bit more tutorial based. But then when he moved to his shop in his garage, which he's got a beautiful shop, it's awesome. He really grasped that concept of multiple camera angles and audio and stuff like that. His stuff really intrigued me, and I watched a lot of that. And then recently has been a couple of the Warhammer guys. I can't remember his name now. Midwinter Minis or something like that, I think it is. He's in the UK. Him and Penny, when they bantered back and forth on just playing, I really enjoyed that because it wasn't super technical. Like he was a little more technical, but she was more, I guess you'd call blue collar, more up to my speed. She says a few 4-letter words and they're English, so it's just absolutely awesome and hilarious to listen to. It's very entertaining, and you get the yin and yang of the Warhammer hobby, of the super hardcores and the super just how I'm here to have fun. Loved watching that stuff, and this now I'm bouncing back into getting into it a little more. So I'm kind of grabbing in some new people out there that are building some new stuff, and there's new to me YouTube guys and girls, and checking out what they're having and just watching, man, just seeing what they're up to, trying to relearn what I've forgotten and learn some new stuff, and just enjoy, kind of build that relationships back, right? Networking.
For sure. So we've hit about that hour mark, right? Did you have any questions for me?
I'm just trying to think here. What are you working on right now? What's on your bench? What are you working on?
So I've been doing a bunch of the 3D print stuff. This is the cape for Superman.
Yep.
You can kind of see it comes in 2 pieces because of the white line, but I'm actually gonna be. I have to go get it, and you'll kind of like this. It's kind of Warhammer related.
Nice, cool.
I'm gonna be bringing this guy back out. Now, in Warhammer, this is called the Warlord.
Nice.
And this is all 3D printed.
Wow, cool.
And yeah, like this is gonna be. I'm gonna try to finish this in the next. It'll be more than a month, but it's down the road.
Nice.
And then I've got like all kinds of stuff, little figures and stuff in primer, because that's really my process. Is I'll like take a bunch of the Warhammer stuff and prime it.
Yep.
And then set it up on the shelf till I figure out how I want to paint it.
Nice. Yeah. And that's what, if watching some of these videos, it looks like a lot of guys have done that. They've built an army and is primed, and that seems to be their Achilles heel. I know with a lot of us who build models and tanks, we'll get to a point, or models and tanks, cars, planes, and tanks. We get them to they're about 75% finished, and then they sit on the shelf. And then we jump back on them a month, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 10 years later, and we build them to they're almost ready for primer. The Warhammer guys seem like they will build, prime, and then put them away. So it's Goobertown Hobbies. Yes, I've seen him on the other one I was watching. He's from Canada too. That's Mini War Mutt. Nice. Yeah, no, I'll have to check that out. what was I going to say here? I forget where I was at. That's my problem now. I forget. I'm getting old and fat, and I forget where things are, right? But, yeah. Anyway, priming. Yes, that seems to be like their guys' Achilles heels. And then watching a lot of these videos, they'll end up challenging themselves to paint an entire army in 25 hours, or paint an entire army in 40 or in 7 days, start to complete, right? So they've kind of got a little thing going with themselves and their little community of model building to kind of push each other to get things done. So, but
you'll kind of figure this out once you get going into the figures. But you get like 10 figures, right? That box set came with what, 10 figures and a tank, right?
Oh yeah. The one that I got, the Orcs is 27, and the Space Marines was 19, or Space Wolves was like 19. But yeah, some figures, heavy transport, and some type of flying gizmo, I think is what both those had.
So when you like set up the figures, you'll set them up, and you'll set them up kind of in a line.
Yep.
And you'll do the same thing for each one.
Yeah.
And then that way the first one's dried by the time you get back to the start.
Yeah, exactly. That was one of those things that noticing these guys. So I did a video one time on taking cardboard and cutting it on the edges, and I forget who even showed me what to do with that. And you tape them together, and you can drop screws into them with your parts on them. I noticed when you get into Warhammer stuff, there's a lot of little parts that need to be painted, and the one that I built was not anywhere near being big enough. So I built a huge one that just fits in the airbrush booth. And my daughter was like, "Why is it so big?" And I'm like, "Well, you divide it in 4 quarters. You fill 2 quarters with parts, and as you paint them, you move it to the back, so you're not over. The biggest problem I always had, you drop one skewer down and drag it right across the wet part. I said, well, then you're done. Then you spin it, and now all the parts are dry, and you just repeat the process, moving them back. So it was, yeah, that you're right, man. It's all process. And that's one of the things I think I lacked a couple years, 2-3 years ago when I was building was the process. It was just like you'd go, and just become overwhelmed because I didn't have a stalled plan. It was just like build, go, paint, do this, do that. And then you stop and you'd be like, oh man, what am I doing now? And you put the cart in front of the horse sometimes, which is a bit of a pain.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's kind of crazy once you like. Now I've jumped down the Warhammer rabbit hole way too much.
That's all good. It's all good.
Like that box set, I probably have like 6 of those that I haven't even right?
It's all that's the hard part. It's also cool. How do you choose, right? That's the worst part.
And like I like more of the Age of Sigmar stuff, mostly because when I've played the game, it's really simple.
Nice.
Because I have tried to play it a little bit, and that one's like I can read the instructions and I'll be like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But like the 40K stuff, it's like, huh?
Yeah.
I'm supposed to do what?
I bought the codex for the Orcs and the Space Wolves when I was there to figure out. The wife gave me the credit card to go buy what I wanted, right? So I'm like, I better get now for change their mind. And it's like a technical manual for a modern nuclear missile. It makes no sense to me, not at all. But I just have to read it and kind of play it. And the great thing about the Warhammer gaming is a lot of guys were saying you don't have to play it right to the T on your first go. You can just pick a few rules and play to those rules, and then introduce the next rule and the next rule, and until you kind of get yourself figured out, right? Yeah. And then the Atomic Dog here, Orcs, you can make them and modify them to your style. That was the other cool thing I've noticed, and that's where like yourself with the 3D printing and stuff coming in, the accessories and the modifications you could do to this stuff as well is just it's mind-boggling. They're so deep, right?
Well, and now GW is kind of maybe not in the GW tournaments, but some of the tournaments they have like that aren't necessarily all the way GW, they're starting to allow 3D printed stuff because before you weren't allowed. You absolutely weren't allowed, and they're kind of starting to get allowed. They're starting to allow it.
Yeah, exactly.
More and more and more. So, like that Warlord Titan, like. It took me 6 rolls of filament to print that thing out.
Wow, that is wild.
But to buy that, it's like $3,500.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that wild?
It's like
I had a debate with the guy at Gamestronics about it, and I thought I had it figured out, and he kind of sent me in a different direction. And so my thought was the reason why their prices are so wild is it seems like to get into the hobby, it's not super expensive. When you want to start buying stuff to make your army stronger, that's going to cost you money. And I think this is my thoughts, is it keeps the kind of the amateur guys from just buying an invincible, unbeatable army, right? And it seems like it may keep the playing field a little more even, where guys are going to be I can't just roll out and buy, like, say, one of those super titans and just walk into a tournament and clean up, right? You know, it kind of stops you. But he's like, oh no, it's this, that, and everything. I'm like, okay, cool. I don't know. I've kind of had a bit of an interest in this stuff for about a month, so I'm not debating someone who's been in it for 30 years and knows all the ins and outs and the angles, but it definitely seems like it seems like any kind of tournaments, gaming, sporting, anything, if you want to really be the best, you're going to have to pay for it. And or, like I said, you can go spend as much and do as much you want, or do as little as you want. It seems like it's fun. Seems like it's just kind of like a fart around, have some fun, take it as serious or as leisure as you want. So
yeah, and then you get guys like Miguel here who are getting into like creating your own files.
Yeah,
that's a rabbit hole that I'm not ready for yet, but at some point, like, I want to start learning ZBrush, and
nice,
so I can maybe do some of my own figures. But that is like once the boys like moved out of the house when he's 30.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I think the hobby's going to expand, because years back when 3D printing started, you could get a 3D printed part and it would you take like 30 hours to clean it up and get it ready to be used on a model, and you had to have bought I'm trying to think of one of the parts. Hunter Selby got a NOS tank for one of his vehicles, and so we're talking probably yay big. And he said it took him forever to get it primed because there were so many, the filament lines were so distinct, and that was like the best of the parts at the time. Now with how the technology has exploded and the quality's gotten so much better, from what I'm understanding, you get a part from a 3D printer, there's little to no work before you can start using it and doing what you need it to do, right? So that's just mind-boggling as well, that you could print even smaller with even more details, and it was crazy, man. It's super cool.
Yeah, I mean it's really really awesome how all this stuff can like tie together too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like I've thought for the longest time to like kind of like start maybe one or two more channels, just one for the 3D printing, one for the automotive, and then one for the like figures and stuff. And it's like, that's a lot more work. Damn that.
Yeah. Right. I mean, that was one thing with starting YouTube. That was one of the big things I loved doing, was just getting set up, right? Like rocking and rolling. Josh, how many of your brain cells will be left when that happens?
Hey, Mopar, more than you. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, nice. But yeah, no, I love the setups. Like the setup part of getting the YouTube channel was really big for me. I loved it. I loved building the shop. That was the other weird part is I guess we didn't really talk about it. One of the reasons why we did shut down for 2 years as well was we did a huge house rental. My grandmother sold her properties, and then she moved into my basement. So we built an apartment in my basement, and that's where the shop was. And I thought I was going to lose 99% of what my shop's floor space was. I thought I was going to lose. And then when the plans and everything got drawn out, I actually gained another 100 square feet. So another 10 by 10 plot that was previously occupied by a furnace and a chimney and a bunch of other stuff got moved. So now my shop's bigger, but as you see, there's not much left to it. It's piled to the ceiling with stuff that doesn't have a home yet. So we're trying to get that. But with that, I was talking to the wife and we were debating this one. It actually generates a huge content creator. So I can build Northview Model Shop 4.0, but this time we can start from the ground up and document it all on YouTube, and everybody can see what it goes into converting a unused room into a model studio. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And in the meantime, we'll build from the table, and I'll film out of the spray booth because it's got enough room in it and it's well lit. So it's always good too. No,
that's awesome. It's kind of crazy how many people actually put money into their houses over this last 2 years, right?
I'm sure I assume it was not globally, but lumber was insane. A sheet of plywood went from like $22 to $82 like overnight. 2x4s were $10 for it was $10 for an 8-foot length of 2x4, and you couldn't get it. Everybody was. It wasn't there was a shortage. It was that everybody was doing it, and it was. I guess it came down to the government. My wife is an economist now and an accountant, and she said the only way to keep the economy rolling was to keep putting money into it. So, like the government was giving CERBs and stuff of that to people, and they were turning around and investing into their homes, which then turned contractors to work, kept people producing products, and it kept the economy rolling through the toughest parts of the pandemic. So, yeah, man, there was you can't get a carpenter right now in our area. If you want to get somebody, you're on a 1 to 2 year waiting list before they can come and even quote you on the project. So, man, these trades are busy. They are insanely busy, at least in my area. And from my understanding, it's everywhere, right? And so when this comes out, when we come on the other side, there's going to be some really nice homes and really nice rental properties, really nice cottages. The area is just going to explode, which is great for property tax too, right? We're not paying enough already, so let's give some more. But anyway, that's
that's a different podcast.
Yes, that's the conspiracy one. We're doing that tomorrow. But,
yeah,
you're right, man. A lot of people put money into their homes and stuff, and you know, the way they go. So hopefully everybody's coming out of this on the right side of the ground, right? It's been a trying time. The big thing I can say to everybody doing this is check your mental health, man. If you're feeling funky, go see somebody, because a lot of people are cracking now, right? And it's every day's different, right? And you're playing by different rules every day, and it's getting a little hard on the head. But take some time for yourselves and take care of your mental health. That's the first thing, right? And if that means building models and escaping into the world of the orcs or the space marines or whatever, to get away for an hour to clear your head, man, do it. You owe it to yourself to do that stuff. So,
well, and that's the great thing about the hobby. This is my mental unblock, or whatever you want to call it, too.
Exactly, right. Shut that door, awesome. And everything shuts down for a little bit.
Well, yeah. Some things shut down for yeah. It's absolutely crazy how the hobby's kind of grown and all that mental health stuff, and yeah, it's just crazy at the end of the day. So we've been on here about an hour. If you don't have any other questions for me, I think I'm going to end this today.
Nice. I'm trying to think. Just trying to think. 3D printing. It seems like you're pretty heavy into it. Where do you see 3D printing progressing into the hobby? Do you think it will be a big portion of it? Do you think it'll peter out, or do you think it will explode in the aspect of the average person being able to either obtain the parts or to get the stuff and build their own parts? What do you feel?
So this is my take on it, and I think I'm pretty spot on with it.
Sweet.
I believe, like Revell, maybe not Tamiya, but like Academy, Airfix, I think eventually they're just gonna at some point sell the STL file, and you're gonna print stuff out on your own.
Nice. Yeah.
I think that's where the hobby is gonna go, because think about how many people you know in the hobby, and now they have a 3D printer.
Yeah, well, there's a lot. Piles of
you know what I mean? Like it's just another tool on our workbench that everybody seems to enjoy. I really, really believe that I say 10 years, but realistically that could be 5.
Yeah.
As cheap as 3D printers are getting, and the quality that you're getting off of them, especially on the resin side.
Yep.
Maybe not so much the PLA side, because I mean, I can show you all the mess ups. Like, this is just like you're gonna get stuff that mangles.
Oh yeah.
Just because it doesn't quite, I mean, you still get a good texture, right? I mean, that's still pretty awesome. Once you filler primer that, you're not going to see any of those lines.
Yeah, and that goes back to what I was saying with Hunter. Like, he'd use the filler primer, and he would have to prime, sand. Hey, it's as good as it's going to get, right? Now, like you're saying, it's like one shot of filler primer and you're good to go, right? So that's
more like 2.
Yeah, still better than a week's worth of filling, right? What I was going to say about the 3D printing, you had mentioned when I first kind of learned about 3D printing and stuff like that, a 3D printer costs as much as a used car. Now, an air fryer or a microwave costs more than a 3D printer, right? So it's like the prices have come down, they're more obtainable, the technology and the knowledge needed to run them. I remember when they first come out, it was like a PhD in nuclear physics and science to understand how a 3D printer worked. Right now you can kind of crash course and you can get printing something at least, right? And you're getting pretty good results out of it. So it's still a little bit beyond my scope, but I do appreciate those guys and like yourself and these guys, these artists. They're not just people downloading and printing. These are artists. They're making stuff. They're turning it into something. 3D printing, I always thought meant like, you could print out a chain or a box, and like that cape, that boggles my mind. Like, how did it not collapse on itself as it's printed? Like, that's just wild technology, right? It's really, really, really cool.
So, Mini Warmutt, welcome to the future, buddy. That's all I'm going to say.
Get off my lawn. I'm with him on that. I'll just like, hey man, do you have one of those? How much? And just buy the part, right? And appreciate what you've done and go from there, right? But
and Mopar, here's the thing: the resin in PLA is getting better as we're going along. They're figuring it out to where you're getting better quality. So at some point, yeah. And then like Miguel, I paid $1,200 for my first printer. It wasn't even remotely close to the quality of prints on my fan. That was only $180.
That's it, right? I mean, somebody posted, I forget who it was, but they posted a 3D printer that was around 100. Maybe it was Adam Mythbusters. Jesus, what's his name? Adam. And that was one back there. One of the questions. One of the channels I watched a lot of was Adam Savage and Test It. When he did some of the model building, that was super cool. That was just awesome.
The 101 series where he scratch built that. I don't remember what it was. The Star Wars thing.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. That was.
I love that one.
That was wicked cool. But I think maybe they might have profiled. It might have not been ad, but one of his team members profiled. I think it was like a 3D printer that was like around $100. And then you could add or build to it. It was like, man, oh man. I mean, understand you get what you pay for, and quality is in dollars as well. But to get started in that aspect of a hobby for $100 or around $100 some bucks, man, it boggled my mind. As I said, when I first looked at a 3D printer, you had to buy you might as well buy a car, right? But anyway, fun times.
Well, like. And you watch Tested, right? So Frank Eppolito?
Yep.
If you looked at some of the videos that he does on his channel, he has a 3D printer that's 6 foot wide by 12 feet long that he does stuff on because he's cosplaying, right? So he needs. I don't even want to know what that one cost.
Yeah,
I don't even want to remotely know what that one cost.
Yeah, it's just crazy, right? It's crazy cool, but yeah, I think what you'd mentioned there about you just Revell and these other ones that are going to buying an STL file and printing it. Man, that's something I never thought of, but that's wild too. Instead of going down to your local brick and mortar to buy a model or ordering it or whatever, you can just download and print. Be ready for you in a little while. That's just really cool.
And on some of these like printed sites where you can buy files, you're starting to see like the Michael Keaton Batmobile, the tank or the Warthog from Halo. You're starting to kind of see it a little bit as we're going along. It's not just figures now. There's like the mech stuff. Like if you go on gamebody.com and look at just some of the robot stuff on there, it's like it's getting better and better as we go along.
Yeah, exactly. I remember watching Gil and Gilbert Mondragon, and he'd have these really cool, wild-looking figures and models and stuff that just turned me right on. And like for me, like it's almost like he went to the dark depths of the internet to find who had these and bought them, right? And now it almost seems like you said, you could just download that or buy that file, download it and print it, and you could be painting along with Gil by his next video. Right. And that's that to me is really, really cool as well. Resin is not environmentally good, little Josh.
So here's my comeback. Neither is glue, neither is spray can stuff.
All those salt supposed to be bad.
Thinner. I mean, all that stuff is bad for the environment.
And so are cow farts. They want to tax those here in Alberta now because there's too many cows and they're causing too much methane gas.
Okay, well, that
cow farts causing ozone problems, but anyway, whatever. Great. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's probably the fumes we've been sniffing all these years building models. That was one thing, I didn't realize. Like, you look at when we were young, what was the glue you used? You used that gel glue from Testers, right? That's glue. And then to me, it come out with that extra thin. So what the hell is this stuff? It's just a solvent, right? It just melts the two plastics, and then when you put them together, they cure, and they're now one solid piece. So it's a solvent. It's not good for the environment, but that's why you keep it closed and use it sparsely.
Very, very true.
Yeah, the EPA is going to be after me now. Yeah, I'm done. Nice.
Yeah. Well, anyway, thank you for coming on. I'm glad we were able to make this work today.
Yes.
And I will talk to you in a couple minutes offline. I'm going to do the out, and I will.
Sir.
Thank you for coming on. I'll
Awesome.
see you.
Thanks for.
So that was Jan, everybody. Hopefully, you learned some stuff like I did today. But we're going to be next week is going to be a pre-recorded episode. I was able to get Pro Carry Tractor trailer on, but we did it on when he has time off because he's a truck driver. So next week's show will show up live, but it's not really live. It's pre-recorded. So I'll probably be commenting in the comments right along with you guys, but that's what's going on next week. But thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye. Oh, geez.